Good evening, I am Damia Qistina. Now let me share with you the definition of sealed tender pricing. What is sealed tender pricing? In competitive bidding procedures, sealed tender price refers to a typical procurement strategy, notably in the building and contracting sectors. The sealed bids must be filed by a certain date, and they are often opened and assessed at a specific time and location, frequently with the bidders or their representatives present. The contract for carrying out the project or offering the necessary products or services is subsequently given to the winning bidder. It promotes competition and enables the buyer to make educated selections based on the merits of each proposal by offering a systematic and consistent method to procurement. Here are 5 issues to look out for before submitting a tender. Which are project requirements, project costings, manpower capabilities, fit of business capabilities and bid management team. The company is in a good position to proceed with the tender if it can meet all the requirements.
Hi guys, today I am going to talk about characteristics of sealed tender pricing.
Are 5 characteristics that I going to present, which are bidding, penetration, competitive, short-term and limited. The last one is transparent.
Each bidder is responsible for submitting their own confidential bids in a sealed envelope.
Penetration refers to the degree to which one bidder's offer is lower than the offer of the next lowest bidder. A high level of market penetration reveals that the provider is highly competitive and has a good chance of securing the contract.
All participants in the bidding process have access to the same information.
This helps to ensure that the process of soliciting bids is impartial and equitable and,
besides, another characteristics of sealed tender pricing is short-term and limited. The short-term nature of the feature suggests that both the purchasing procedure.
It is more efficient way to procure goods or services than other methods, such as negotiating with a single supplier.
Competitive are the last characteristics. All bidders are given an equal opportunity to land the contract while using the sealed tender price method to acquire products or services. Price competition in sealed bids is a great way to make sure the buyer receives the greatest deal on their purchase. It has the potential to increase supplier competition, which in turn could result in cheaper pricing and higher quality goods and services.
Hi, my name is Farah. I want to show you the factor of usage of sealed tender pricing.
Firstly, quality of buyer guarantee. In some procurement procedures, buyers could ask suppliers for a guarantee to assure the quality of the goods or services being purchased. This assurance may shape warranties, performance bonds, or service level agreements.
Next, sales urgency. Pricing for sealed tenders may speed up the procurement process when there is a sense of urgency to acquire goods or services.
Finally is competition. A solicitation approach used in purchasing goods and services is competitive bidding. The buyer fosters a competitive atmosphere that encourages efficacy, cost-effectiveness, and fair evaluation by encouraging many vendors to submit bids. What are the advantages of sealed tender pricing? Firstly, it guarantees that each provider has an equal chance to compete for the contract, fostering fairness and openness.
Next, it encourages competition among vendors, which can lead to better pricing and higher quality products or services. Furthermore, sealed tender pricing also claims to be time-saving.
Lastly, utilizing sealed tender pricing also enable expenses to be reduced.
Now, what are the disadvantages of sealed tender pricing? Firstly, sealed tender pricing also could be stressful. If bidders have queries or issues that they are unable to discuss with the buyer, they may become anxious as well.
Besides, in some circumstances, sealed tender price might raise the risk of supplier collusion, especially when there are few vendors on the market. As a result, the organization may see higher costs and decreased value. Last but not least, sealed tender pricing also lacks of flexibility. Pricing through a sealed tender is a strict procedure that forbids negotiation or revisions to bids after they have been filed.
Moving to the next part, which is real practice example of sealed tender pricing. There are 3 real example of activity that imply sealed tender pricing. Firstly, property auction. Secondly, furniture auction. Lastly, project auction. Property auctions in Malaysia have gained popularity, with sealed tender pricing being a key aspect. Bidders submit secret bids in sealed envelopes, ensuring fairness and equal opportunity. A fundamental feature of these auctions is sealed tender pricing, which requires interested purchasers to submit their bids to the auctioneer secretly in sealed envelopes by a predetermined date. The sealed bids are then opened at later date and time, and the highest bid is declared the winner. Furniture auctions are a fascinating way to acquire unique and high-quality items at competitive costs, and sealed tender pricing adds an intriguing element to the experience. In furniture auctions, sealed tender pricing requires prospective purchasers to make their offer secretly in sealed envelopes within a certain window. Because bidders are not influenced by others throughout the auction process, this system promotes fairness and transparency. Lastly, contracts for building and infrastructure projects are frequently awarded through project auctions, and sealed tender pricing adds a level of fairness and competitiveness to the process. A sealed tender price requires interested bidders to submit their proposals in sealed envelopes by a certain time. This method assures transparency and fairness.
In conclusion, sealed tender pricing is a widely used procurement method in the building and contracting sectors, particularly in government agencies and organizations. It ensures fairness, transparency and competition among suppliers or contractors for a project or service. By requiring sealed bids, the confidentiality of pricing information is maintained until the designated time for bid opening, reducing the risk of collusion or favoritism. Sealed tender pricing encourages transparency, market rivalry, standardization of standards, and time constraints to ensure a successful procurement. These elements should be taken into account when choosing a price plan to ensure a successful procurement. Sealed tender pricing offers several advantages, such as fairness and openness, better pricing, and higher quality products or services. Bids must be kept secret until the designated opening time, and bid envelopes must be stored safely. It also saves time by eliminating the need for discussions and allowing for an efficient evaluation of proposals. Finally, product specifications should be included in the tender document to ensure competitiveness. The lack of flexibility in sealed tender pricing restricts negotiations or revisions after bids are submitted, making the process unpleasant for both bids and purchasers. There is a possibility of supplier collusion, non-competitive pricing or bid rigging, and pressure on sellers to submit cheap rates, potentially affecting the overall quality of the project or service. The competitive pricing of sealed tenders can provide a highly stressful environment and pressure on sellers to submit cheap rates, potentially affecting the overall quality of the project or service. Sealed tender pricing is a recognized technique of procurement that provides advantages such as fairness, competitiveness, transparency, and cost savings. However, it must be implemented with thorough thought, requirements, and time constraints. It should also be used with an understanding of its constraints and potential drawbacks to ensure an effective and fair procurement process. It is essential to properly examine the project needs, hazards, and the overall context before deciding whether sealed tender pricing is the best match for the project. That is all for sealed tender pricing. Thank you and have a nice day.